Hello and thank you for joining us on Africa Live. I'm Penina Karibe with plenty coming up this half hour, including these stories. Fears grow of a rise in labor tension in South Africa's Platinum Belt as NUM union leader is gunned down. And Golden Knight, South Africa's Chatla Claw, claims 2 medals as Tunisia's Osama Melouli wins silver at the Swimming World Cup in Dubai. We begin here in Nairobi. 4 weeks since the horrific Westgate Mall attack, 23 people remain missing with many questions unanswered. However, as the uncertainty continues, newly released closed-circuit television footage has emerged. The clips paint a grim picture of the day that gunmen stormed the mall, shooting indiscriminately. I would like to warn our viewers that the footage you're about to see may be disturbing.
It's been 1 month since the tragic terror attack on Nairobi's Westgate Mall. Although many questions remain unanswered on the number of people missing and the identities of the attackers, new chilling closed-circuit television footage has emerged, taken from security cameras outside and inside the mall on September 21st. The video footage obtained by Reuters shows the moment gunmen entered the Nairobi Westgate Mall, randomly shooting down shoppers in the supermarket. One man, who appeared to be lying injured by the Nakumatt shopping centre, is seen being shot once at close range, and then later repeatedly by a gunman out of view. In another CCTV clip, a woman with 3 young children is seen pushing a trolley followed by a bloody teenager. One of the gunmen is behind them. This may have been the moment the attackers took hostages. In separate footage, civilians are seen taking cover behind the counter in one of the mall restaurants. Armed civilians are then seen arriving at the scene. In the 4-day siege that followed, about 60 people died and more are still missing, with reports on Thursday that some body parts were recovered from the collapsed section of the mall. The Kenyan security forces have been accused of slow response following the attack, and were also linked to incidents of looting. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Minister Amina Mohammed has however rushed to their defense.
They did the best that they could at the moment, at that particular moment. Now obviously we'll have to just sharpen everything, we'll have to enhance, our capabilities. Maybe we need different types of capacities, but at that moment, yes, they did the best and we are extremely proud of our security forces.
Kenya has accused the Somalia group Al-Shabaab of being behind the terror attack, said to be in revenge for Kenya's defense forces wresting control of the southern port city of Kismayu from the group. Kenyans now await news of the exact number of victims and attackers involved in the Westgate siege, and the results of a parliamentary investigation which is now in progress. Maria Galang, CCTV, Nairobi.
Right, let's discuss this further. CCTV's Mohammed Hirmoge is live from Somalia's capital, Mogadishu. And here in studio, I'm joined by George Musamali. He is an anti-terrorism and forensic expert. Let me begin with you, Hirmoge. The Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for that attack. Any new information or details on the planning and execution of the attack from that end?
Well, Penina, nothing more than what we already know, apart from the fact that the nationalities and the identities of the attackers is now what is getting to be known. We understand for a fact that one of the men caught on the CCTV camera, one of the 4 men caught on the CCTV camera at the Westgate Mall attack, might have been a Norwegian of Somali origin, Hassan Abdi Duhlu, who sources say might have left Norway in 2009. About the same time, many young Somalis from diaspora left for Somalia to take part in the fight over here. We also understand that one other Kenyan man of Somali origin, a Kenyan Somali, who narrowly escaped the United States Naval SEAL Team's snatch and grab operation about a week ago in the port town of Barawe, might have been privy to both the execution and the planning of the Westgate Mall attack. But now that investigators are still going through the rubble of Westgate, a lot will be established after they're done with their job there.
All right, I'll be coming back to you here, Morgan, in just a second. Let me come back now to you, George. What would you say about the speed at which these investigations are being carried out?
Penina, I think what is actually happening at the site is that the experts are still going through the rubbles. And as per yesterday, several firearms were recovered. And I've also been told that there's a head that was found at the scene, and it has not been established who it belongs to. So it will take some time because there's a lot of things that have to be done. A lot of material has to be collected for us to be able to identify actually the kind of weapons that were used at the scene. If there was any explosive that was at the scene, this also needs to be established. So we can't say that it's going to take us 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but this kind of investigation normally takes up to 3 months.
Right. Hirmoke, let me come back to you. You did, of course, mention there that there was the involvement of Norwegian of Somali origin, a Kenyan as well. But do we have any more information to the extent on which Al-Shabaab are using foreign nationals in their operations?
Well, the fact that foreign nationals are executing such attacks in Nairobi point to one issue Al-Shabaab might want to prove to the world, that it is a transnational outfit, that it is not Al-Shabaab, that is not just a militant group in Somalia, but it is a transnational, an international jihadist outfit. That is a point Al-Shabaab wanted to prove. And according to investigators, Norwegian investigators for that matter, about 20 to 30 Norwegians might have left Norway for Somalia in the year 2009. That complicates further. It's not only Norway, for your information, Penina. These young boys have been coming from London. They've been coming from America as well. We also understand that the fact that Al-Shabaab didn't use Somali locals, their fighters in Somalia, in the Nairobi's Westgate Mall attack, means that the group has started becoming sophisticated and a regional problem at that.
Right. So, George, coming back to you, of course, like Hirmoke mentioned, there are foreign nationals involved from Britain, from America, from here in Kenya. And in the footage that's just been released, we can actually be able to see these attackers. How easy then is it to track them down? That's, of course, assuming they're alive.
When we are dealing with terrorists, it becomes a little bit difficult because some of the names that were mentioned at Westgate are not people that are new in the scene of terrorism. The Kenyan Terrorism Police had them in their radar for quite some time, but still you see they came in and actually carried out this attack. So we have safe havens where after such an attack takes place, the terrorists that actually did the attack run to. So it will take some time because you see even Fazul, it took so many years of tracking, and let me talk of almost 10 years after the American embassy attack before he was finally arrested and gunned down. So we are not seeing the probability of these people being arrested very quickly or very soon apprehended, because any terror attack plan has also an escape plan, and probably they are out of reach now.
Right. And Hirmoke, coming back to you, has there been any joint efforts between AMISOM and Somali government to track the Al-Shabaab leaders?
Well, at the moment, over the last 5 years, AMISOM might have been quite successful in recovering new areas from Al-Shabaab. That is the city, Mogadishu, and quite a number of other cities, stretching up to the southern port city of Kismayo. But the issue of finding and reaching out, tracking the Al-Shabaab leaders have been quite tricky, because you understand they're not as facilitated as the Americans are. As our guest there mentioned, it took Fazul a number of years to track him down, but both Fazul and Salih Ali Nabhan have been killed by the Americans in 2009 and 2011. So you see, the Somali government at the moment has no capacity to fight Al-Shabaab in its own way. We understand the Somali National Army is not a cohesive force. There are still fragments of clan-allied militia. The loyalties are not with the government. Many question actually the loyalties of the Somali National Force. These have been militia over the last 20 years. They're the relics of the old militia. So their loyalties lie with their clan warlords, with their separate and respective clans, and not with a cohesive force. So the aspect of nationalism in the Somali National Army is missing out. Plus, AMISOM says they cannot undertake the American-style snatch and grab operations to hunt down Al-Shabaab leaders. What they have to do is, they are largely an infantry wing. AMISOM is not capacitated. They don't have fighter jets. We understand the regional mandate of AMISOM gives them up to 12 helicopters. The force doesn't have any now. Therefore, it looks like AMISOM and the Somali National Army, the Somali government, are not quite ready to find out where the Al-Shabaab leaders are and hunt them down. But what they can do is they can recover more areas, more routes, more towns, and more villages.
All right, so Mohammed Hirmoge live for us there in the Somali capital of Mogadishu. Thanks for joining us. And here in the studio, we have George Musamali, an anti-terrorism and forensic expert. Also, thank you, George, for joining us. You're watching Africa Live. Let's take a break coming up. Seat of influence, 5 countries elected to join the UN Security Council. And in the crosshairs, 11 more elephants killed in cyanide attack in Zimbabwe Park. Yes?
This week, Talk Africa is in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, following the developments of Africa's relationship with the International Criminal Court.
This is a billion-euro industry.
What is at stake for Africa?
Sitting heads of state have immunity.
We need a defer.
What is at stake for the ICC?
The ICC itself is actually unaccountable.
Why is it that ICC is only focused on certain countries in Africa?
So what exactly is that relationship between Africa and the ICC?
South African police investigating the rape and murder of 2 toddlers whose bodies were found in a public toilet arrested a 5th man on Friday, described by local media as the prime suspect in a crime that has shocked the nation. The mutilated bodies of the girls aged 2 and 3 were found in the North Johannesburg township of Diepsloot on Tuesday, 3 days after they were reported missing. 4 other suspects are already in custody and will appear in court in Pretoria on Friday. The arrest of the 5th suspect in another Johannesburg township came after police offered a 100,000 rand reward, that's just about $10,200 in US dollars, to any information leading to his arrest. He is likely to appear in court next week. The killings have caused outrage in South Africa, a nation plagued by some of the world's highest rates of violence and sexual crime. Residents of Diepsloot went on the rampage after the bodies were discovered, demanding better policing. Meanwhile, we're receiving reports that riots have erupted in the North Johannesburg township of Diepsloot over the toddlers case. For the latest, we're joined by CCTV's Renee Elkam on the line from Diepsloot. Renee, what's happening where you are?
Well, yeah, I'm in Diepsloot, north of Johannesburg, where the double murder was discovered over the weekend. Emotions here are running high, and there was plenty of chaos and confusion just a few minutes ago when police tried to disperse an angry mob outside the Diepsloot police station. The crowd was calling for police to hand over the 5th suspect arrested in this case to the community. He was, of course, arrested this morning after police hunted him down and found him in a nearby township. Just a short while ago, rubber bullets and rocks were flying in a few tense moments between police and the crowd here in Diepsloot, as the crowd bayed for the blood of the alleged rapists and murderers. The situation is a lot quieter now, but still very tense.
All right, Renee Delkamp there in Diepsloot telling us of the chaos that have erupted. That's following the arrest of the 5th suspect in the murder of those 2 girls. We'll keep you posted on the latest developments as and when we get them. Now, the United Nations elected 5 new members to its Security Council Thursday. The body has 10 non-permanent members, and the latest 5 will begin their terms in January. All run uncontested, at least officially, underscoring perennial calls for reform of the UN's most powerful body. Our UN correspondent Stephen Fee reports.
Chad, Chile, Lithuania, Nigeria and Saudi Arabia are elected members of the Security Council for a 2-year term beginning on 1 January 2014.
With handshakes and applause, those 5 countries now prepare to take their much-coveted seats on the UN's premier peace and security body. But the results weren't much of a surprise.
None of the candidates in their regional groupings have competition. So there are only 5 candidates running for 5 seats.
Indeed, regional blocs selected their picks well before Thursday's balloting, but the behind-the-scenes jockeying for a non-permanent seat has become increasingly competitive and expensive.
You have a lot of larger powers that are not permanent members of the Security Council running more frequently for elected seats on the council. because there's a certain prestige that comes with that.
Both newly elected Chile and Nigeria have previously served on the council 4 times. And other non-permanent members that have served multiple times, like Turkey, India, Japan, and Germany, continue to lobby for their place on what's considered the UN's most powerful body.
It's really a message to the wider UN membership about Security Council reform, that the current 5 permanent members are no longer representative of the balance of influence, if not the balance of power globally.
As in years past, world leaders at this year's General Assembly last month echoed those calls for reform. But there's been little agreement, and any changes would require 2/3 of the UN's 193 members, plus the full consent of the Security Council.
But I'd say something has become clearer since the last big debate over Security Council reform. Certain countries in the developing world really are emerging convincingly.
And that could put more pressure on the 68-year-old body to change its ways. Stephen Fee, CCTV at the United Nations in New York.
All right, let's get more perspective on this issue. We're joined by Daniel Whitehead, live for us in Washington, D.C. So, Daniel, who do these 5 members replace, and what next now after the election?
Well, what happens now is that these 5 countries will officially join the UN Security Council board on the 1st of January 2014. As we heard in Stephen's package there, that will run on a 2-year non-permanent membership, which obviously ends on the 31st of December in 2015. They are replacing Azerbaijan, Guatemala, Morocco, Pakistan and Togo. And they are on the 5 of the 10 non-permanent seats. Of course, the 5 permanent members being the US, France, Britain, Russia and China.
So, Daniel, Africa and various developing countries have been pushing for reform of the Security Council, calling for more influence and better representation on the Council. Are there any indications that the UN could move in that direction?
Well, there have been ongoing and continuing calls for an African nation to be given a permanent seat on the council. Those reforms are those suggestions for reform are continuing. I don't think we're going to see anything drastically soon. There's been no official statement on the UN on the appointment of these 5 countries. However, the permanent US representative to the United Nations Security Council, Ambassador Samantha Power, issued a statement late last night. In it, she said that the US is looking forward to working with these 5 countries to tackle emerging conflicts in areas like Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia and Mali. She says that the US wants to work with the countries to promote democracy and human rights. And those last 2 words, human rights, will be of particular focus under these 5 countries. There are people who are questioning the human rights record of Chad and Saudi Arabia. The Human Rights Watch group in Geneva says that the prestige of gaining the membership should prompt these countries into sorting out their own house order first of all.
All right, Daniel Whitehead live there in Washington. Thank you, Daniel, for joining us. While you're watching Africa Live, let's now catch up with the latest in biz news, Rama.